We are jumping into 2026 with our first video being our first Riftbound feature match. This isn't proper League of Legends, so instead of welcoming you to Summoner's Rift, all I'll say is welcome to Alliance Rift.
What's going on, YouTube? This is D Riggedy Wreck here with Argo, bringing you our first Riftbound TCG match here on the channel. If you guys enjoyed today's feature match, as all my other videos, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for future content. And let me know in the comments if you prefer the full match style of video with the best of 3 in one video, or if you prefer Riftbound games being done in single games as opposed to full matches there, split up across maybe a 3-game series or just single games in its entirety there. But getting into today's match, on the left, piloted by myself, we're running with blue, yellow, Viktor. If you've seen any of the lists from Houston as well as over in China there from the English release. Very aggressive deck with making tokens, making recruit tokens there. And then on the right, piloted by my buddy Andrew, he's running it back with green, blue, Ahri. Very tempo-y, plays a lot of counterplay, a lot of low end, and a good amount of high end, being able to tap into Tasty Fae Folk as well as the Thousand-Tailed Watcher. And we have access to that one as well in blue, but it's going to come down to who's going to see a bit more of their curve in this match between the next 2 to 3 games there. But with game 1 here, we get a bit of an early start. We have the Daring Poro there. That's going to give us the attack on that battlefield there, the Altar to Unity. It's going to give us the 1 point. And just to give a bit more hand advantage to himself there, Andrew throws down the Discipline, targeting my Daring Poro to be able to draw a card. So he doesn't have any units to be able to counter with as of yet. He needs to rebuild his hand just a smidge here in order to start making a comeback there. We're ahead with the 1 point, and I think definitely from what I've been seeing there, going first is really the play in this game. And there is some opportunity for counterplay if you do end up going second and you can make a bit of a comeback from the back end. But for most instances of gameplay that I've seen, going first tends to be the dominating way to win your matches there. Andrew's going to kick his turn 2 off with a Ravenbloom Student and a Find Your Center to be able to ramp hand a little bit and energy, or runes I should say, in this game. But with the 1 Ravenbloom Student and no real way to capture any points in turn 1, turn 2 there, we do have a bit of an extensive lead, having the conquer from last turn and the hold this turn, putting us to 2. And because we held at the Altar to Unity, we do get the recruit token. We're going to move our Noxian Drummer from last turn up to Grove of the Godwillow there to be able to earn another point for conquering. And we'll make that token there on the Noxian Drummer's move. It's going to put us up 3-0. Very aggressive start with an unfortunate start for Andrew in game 1 here. We're going to round our turn off with our leader. Very solid leader card there. Being able to generate tokens on non-token unit destruction is really awesome for being able to fill board very quickly. And then pushing into the late game with cards like Grand Stratagem to be able to just push a bunch of really beefed tokens for game. Getting into the 6-point category there, or the 6-point for the 2 conquer for game type strategy. Akin to the Vi Follow the Wind combo from Red Purple. We end our turn off with the Call of the Week. We sack one of our tokens to sack Andrew's Ravenbloom Student, setting him back a turn in board state a little bit. It's going to give us a bit of the hold position for early on. Although Andrew in his turn is going to return the favor with a Singularity to get rid of our leader and the Daring Poro from the Altar to Unity. So we're not going to get the hold for there, but we may, and he's going to end his turn on that. We'll go to our turn here. We'll get the hold at Grove of the Godwillow to go to 4 points. Getting into our turn 5. We have a decent lineup in our hand there. A lot of low end, unfortunately, but definitely a good opportunity for us to set up a bit, especially while Andrew's a bit on the back foot there. We don't have to worry about pacing too quickly. We're going to start off with a Noxian Drummer and follow that up by paying 3. And we're going to throw down the Vanguard Captain, so the Legion's going to kick off. We're going to get 2 recruit tokens to fill our base up a little bit more. And we're sitting pretty comfortably with our own Singularity as well as a Stupefy, so if we start counterplaying a little bit or getting low on hand advantage getting into turn 6, turn 7, we'll have opportunities for counterplay, opportunities to slow down anything Andrew throws down going into the next coming turns. He's sitting at 8 energy, so he has a lot of options at this point, but it comes down to what he has in hand currently. He's going to start with a Sprite Mother. It's going to make his Sprite token there. Really solid card for being able to go aggro in one turn, as opposed to having to wait out the turn or accelerate. So he's going to start by starting a combat with the Sprite over at the Grove of the God Willow, and then playing an Unguard to start that action there. And since I'm tapped out, that won't matter too much. So that's going to go up by 2. It's going to beat out the Noxian Drummer as well as the token there. 5-4. He's going to get the point for conquering in that battlefield there. And because he took out our Daring Pearl from last turn, we won't get any hold points going into next turn. So we're a bit stunned at 4 after this turn here. Oh, and he is going to throw down that charm that we mentioned earlier. He's going to move up our Noxian Drummer to start another combat there, and we will lose. That Sprite still has 5 from the Unguard he played earlier for the turn. Really good way to get rid of board. Really awesome. I do see he has a counterspell in hand too, so opportunity to potentially thwart any aggressiveness I commit to later on. So we have another Vanguard Captain in hand. We just drew that Sprite Mother. And as well, we still have a Hidden Blade in hand as well that we can use for later. I don't like giving my opponent cards. In some instances, I may just sack my own unit to draw the extra 2 cards. But if necessary, we can use it to thwart attempts to conquer a battlefield, stall out any plans. Really solid card in some instances for high end, but giving the opponent cards is a little detrimental. We're going to start the turn off with a Sprite Mother, akin to Andrew's last turn. It's going to make our 3 power Sprite. We're going to start a combat at Altar to Unity. And he does not have any counterspell for that there, so we will hold, or we will conquer, I should say. Putting us to 5 to Andrew's 1. Now, as long as that's there, we're not going to get the point for holding, unfortunately, so we'll need to move something up in order to potentially hold next turn. We're going to start a combat over at Grove of the God Willow, and we're going to cast Stupefy on the Sprite with priority there. He is going to defy, countering our Stupefy there, which turns this into a tied combat. Now, a little bit wasteful, unfortunately, in this situation there, as he would not have got the point for holding in that instance anyway. So it would have been more sensible to potentially move that to the Altar of Unity and then force him to engage in combat over there if you wanted to try and capture points and prevent us from capturing points going into our next turn after this. But still sitting with a comfortable gap. We're at 5-1. And it's going to come down to if Andrew can draw into anything useful to be able to push and potentially come back. But he is really far behind with only 3 cards in hand, unfortunately. See the counterspell there. I'm not sure what the other 2 cards. I think one of them is a Stalwart Poro. He's going to start a combat with the Sprite Mother over at Grove of the God Willow. And I unfortunately do not have NT counterplay, so that will give Andrew the point, putting him to 2 to our 5. He's going to pay 2 for that Stalwart Poro that we were looking at in his hand there. And he's going to beef up that 1 battlefield, and I believe the end of Andrew's turn there, passing it back to us. And unfortunately, we lose that Sprite token, so we will not get the point for holding. So no token for us in that instance either. Now we have a Faithful Manufactor alongside the other cards from before. We may just spend a turn rebuilding board. We'll start that combat over at the Opportunity with the Sprite Mother. Andrew has no counterplay, so that'll put us to 6. Pay 3 for the Faithful Manufactor to make a token. We have a decent-sized, not decent-sized battlefield, but we have some units in our battlefield there. If we can draw into some cards like back-to-back, it may give us an opportunity to push a bit more. We'll follow up the Faithful Manufactor with a Vanguard Captain again to make 2 more recruit tokens. Further fill up the battlefield there, fill up our base. But it becomes the risky play when we're looking at trying to do aggressive actions like throwing down spells like back-to-back or even Grand Stratagem, because he plays the cards like Wind Wall or just Defy to be able to counter low or higher spells. It does give us a bit of caution when it comes to aggressive plays. Especially when he has, only 2 cards in hand, only 2 cards, and he's not playing anything. Could either mean he's holding out for a bigger play with a bigger unit like Tasty Faithful or the Thousand-Tailed Watcher, or he's holding out on some counterplay, some counter spells to prevent us from accelerating or prevent us from playing more aggressively to push for game. We are at 6. We have a pretty comfortable lead. He did hold from that last turn, so it is 6-3. And it's a really critical juncture for Andrew here if he wants to make a comeback. We are a little fizzled out. I believe we only have 2 cards or 3 cards in hand at this point in the game. And we did throw down that Hidden Blade as a react hidden spell at the altered battlefield there. He's going to pay 4 with the 1 recycle to cast his Ahri Leader. And that one's a really solid Ahri option there. It gives him the opportunity to gain additional points for holding. He's going to follow that up with a Find Your Sensor, and that'll be the end, it looks like, of this turn. Yes, so he'll pass at the end of that turn there after playing the Find Your Center. And it leaves him with 3 up, so opportunity for Wind Wall or Defy, or even a defensive like On Guard or Discipline to be able to prevent me from pushing aggressively with a lot of my recruits there or my smaller units. We get the hold from last turn, so we're up to 7. Unfortunately, we will need to hold or conquer both to be able to win at this point. Now, if I remember right, I believe I critically misplay this turn. So I cast a Hidden Blade to kill the Sprite Mother and draw 2. Now, we check this later on. The opportunity also to force a combat there from Andrew by just leaving the Sprite Mother there would have been an ideal play as well. I was a little bit worried about only having the 2 cards in hand and not having opportunities for counterplay if he does counter me. And in this instance, I also make another critical misplay forgetting what his deck does. We go with the Singularity as opposed to the Thousand-Tailed Watcher we drew for turn, trying to snipe the Ahri here as well as the Stalwart Poro, and he counters with the Wind Wall to prevent me from destroying those 2. Very, very unfortunate turn. Could have definitely been game had I just committed to the Thousand-Tailed Watcher and pushed for game with the Accelerate. So we're going to round our turn here with the Recruit. I know I'm going to get roasted in the comments if anyone's watching this there. For not just throwing down the Thousand-Tailed Watcher for game and killing the Sprite Mother at the same time. But having the lead that I did, I was very confident that I could still win regardless, but definitely could have won a turn earlier had I just made that play there for game. And that is going to put Andrew to 5 points for the hold, and then the Ahri is going to give him an additional point as well. And it does make it a bit harder because next turn I am going to have to conquer both if I want to win that next turn, or I have to hold, which very, very, very unfortunate misplay on my part for game 1. So I'm just going to throw down a Ravenbloom student at the Grove of the God Willow with another Ravenbloom student to follow up, making that one battlefield extremely beefy to prevent me from conquering both in the next turn. And he's going to pass with those two, leaving 5 up. Dangerous territory. Yeah, and Andrew's calling me out for it there. Very, very unfortunate mistake on my part. We are at 7 still to Andrew's 5. So we are going to have to push for game this turn. Otherwise, he is going to have an opportunity to push next turn. And I believe with the Ahri, it would proc to the 8 points there. Unless the rule condition comes first, where he can't get he can't win unless he conquers both or holds 1. I don't think the Ahri point gain would count in that instance there, but maybe it does. Someone fact check me in the comments below if Ahri gets around that win condition there for the capturing the 8th point. So we're going to start by moving the recruit up to the altar to Unity. That's going to give us the draw, and then we are going to pay 8 with 2 recycle for an accelerated Thousand-Tailed Watcher, which we should have played last turn. That's going to -3 from all of Andrew's units there at Grove of the God Willow. So everything currently is at 1 power. The Stalwart will gain 1 when we attack it for the defend skill. And if he plays any spells, the Ravenbloom students will also be increased as well. So now we gotta do some quick maths. We gotta figure out exactly how much to throw into this battlefield for at least a tie, if not a win. So right now we're coming in for, we got 7, 9, 12, -3. Coming in at 9. The Ahri reducing the power there, so we're coming at 9. He's gonna stupefy the Thousand-Tailed Watcher, bring us down to 8, and with that, Andrew's currently at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's currently a tie with the stupefy. Now he did draw that retreat there, so if he plays the retreat, it's going to come down to what he decides to withdraw. Now, if he withdraws either the Sprite Mother or the Ahri, it'll only be a 1 point loss, but if he withdraws the Stalwart Poro, then it'll be a 2 might reduction, but then the Ravenbloom students will also be increased as well. So he's going to play the retreat. He's going to return the Ahri, which is at 1 power. He'll be able to do that next turn. But the Ravenbloom students will both increase, so he's at currently 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 to my 8. So he does win this combat currently. And I am tapped out, unfortunately, so I have no counterplay opportunity here. So he does win. Let me decide where we want to apply damage. And once again, another critical mistake on my part there. We are going to kill everything except for the Stalwart Poro, which we should have killed because the Sprite Mother would have only had 1, but the Stalwart Poro will get 1 again if we attack and start another combat. Yeah, and I'm not picking up on that as I do it, unfortunately. Very, very unfortunate misplays towards the end of this game here. This game 1. So we're just going to throw everything up over at there for game. And that is going to be the end of our game 1. We get the conquer for both battlefields in this turn, pushing us to 8. Moving into game 2, Andrew's going to take the first turn there. Now, that game 1, we had Altar to Unity and Grove of the God Willow, so that is going to be the last time we see those battlefields there. For game 2, we're going to see Vile Maw's Lair and the Dreaming Tree. We have a decent starting hand. We've got the Thousand-Tailed. We've got the Legendary Spell there for Viktor. We've got an Imperial Decree and a Cull of the Weak. Unfortunately, we don't have any small units, so we're going to have to put 2 of those back. We're going to put the Cull of the Weak and the Imperial Decree back. We draw a Faithful Manufactor and a Daring Poro for our redraw. So Andrew taking the first turn, starts off with the Stalwart Poro and passes turn 1. And he did change his champion unit out with the Ahri there. So instead of the green Ahri, he's playing the blue Ahri, which reduces additionally power from attacking units while it's at a battlefield. So really solid tech choices in either regard. And again, if someone wants to fact check me on the green Ahri, if you do score the point with Ahri's ability there, even if you're at 7. So let's say you're at 7 or let's say you're at 6 and you hold with only 1 battlefield, you gain the second point and win the game. I'm not too sure on the ruling in that regard there. Ooh, and he's going to start off really early with the Charm there. So we threw down that Daring Poro and then tapped the 1 for Viktor's ability to make a token. And he's going to get rid of our Daring Poro right away with Charm pulling it up, and then the Ahri is going to reduce its power. So even with the Assault skill, he's only going to be a 2 to the Stalwart's 3. He rounds off the turn with a Find Your Center and passes on turn 2. Definitely a much more aggressive start than game 1. And he's up 1 point to our nil, getting into turn 2, turn 3 territory. We're going to start by moving up our recruit to Vile Maw's Lair to capture a point potentially here. So we'll get the point. We're going to pay the 5, recycle the 1. For the Machine Evangel, really solid card, makes the 3 tokens on death. And because we're locking down that battlefield there, it's going to force him to sacrifice units that he might want to be able to move around otherwise. Really solid tech choice as a battlefield for Viktor, just throwing chump units up and then letting them sacrifice or sit there, because we can always make more with skills just by playing additional units later on there, but then also getting the board back with recruit tokens, and then potentially sitting on either buff spells like Back-to-Back or Grand Stratagem, potentially in the later game, and even cards like Siphon Energy to be able to beef our units while reducing our opponent's units. He's going to start with the Stupefy on his Daring Poro to draw an additional card. And I'll get that point for holding, so it's currently his 2 to my 1. He's going to pay 2 for the Ravenbloom student. Now, he could have reversed ordered here, but it wouldn't have mattered too much, because it wouldn't have been doing anything except sitting in base anyhow. But that'll be the end of Andrew's turn there, rounding off with the Ravenbloom student. Really solid card for a common, or a rare. Uncommon? Uncommon. And it comes as, I believe, a 2 or a 3 of in the champion decks. I believe it's the Viktor champion deck there. It comes as a 2 or a 3 of. Really solid tech choice. Unfortunately, the blue Viktor in set 1 anyway isn't super good, but I am told that in set 2 we do see a lot of new cards that make blue Viktor more viable and potentially better than yellow Viktor going into set 2 meta. So we'll see. We're going to cast our leader here, and then pay the 1 with our Viktor leader to make a recruit token there. I keep mixing them up. The champion unit, Viktor, as opposed to the leader. Commander, same thing. The nomenclature escapes me at the moment, but it's different from the commander as it just leaves and goes to the graveyard, as opposed to returning to the commander zone in this game. A little unfortunate because we would like to see them stick around a bit longer in some instances there, but he's going to pay 6, so as I expect, he is going to play Singularity once again. That is going to destroy both our Viktor Champion and our Machine Evangel. We will get the 3 tokens, and I unfortunately believe that because of the check timing, the Champion unit Viktor does not see the death of the Machine Evangel, so we don't get that 4th recruit token. And he's going to start a combat over at Vilemaw's lair. He's going to play Stupefy on his own Ravenbloom student, which doesn't technically really matter all that much. He could have chose the recruit token, it would have -0, but in either instance there, he still gets the draw off the Stupefy, and we do lose that combat showdown there with the recruit. So he is going to conquer again, putting him to 4. And I believe that is the end of his turn here, unless he wants to throw down something else. He is going to recycle 1 and cast a hidden at Vilemaw's lair. Interesting. And then that'll be the end of Andrew's turn there, leaving 1 rune untapped. Now at this point I should recognize the pattern there, the 1 for either the Defy or the On Guard. If I just start a combat at either battlefield, he'll have opportunities for counterplay. So we're going to attempt to start an even combat over at the Dreaming Tree, and we're going to start off right away with priority with back-to-back. We're going to give 2 of the tokens +2. And I'm trying to re-understand how the effects work during a showdown. In this case, the combat showdown, since we have, if I remember it right from learning how to play this a bit better afterwards, it's when you declare an attack on an occupied battlefield, you start a combat showdown, you declare attack or defender, attack and defense skills trigger, and then you go into open showdown. At that point, the turn player has the focus and priority to play spells, and then priorities pass back and forth until that chain resolves. Focus is then passed to the defending player until both players pass, and then we go to cleanup. As far as I understand that's how the rules work. So in this instance there, we start with the back-to-back, having priority. Andrew counters with the Defy. I'll play a second back-to-back to follow that up. We lose 1 recruit token there. We're going to tap 1, pay 1 for another recruit token, and that'll be the... Oh, hold on, I spoke too soon. We're going to pay the 1 recycle for a hidden, and then that'll be the end of my turn there. So that's 3 to 4. I'm a little bit on the back foot this time around, between also having gone second and also that initial aggressive counterplay there from Andrew with the charm. Reducing my board a bit going into turn 1, turn 2. But we're back up on the back foot a little bit, not too far behind as opposed to earlier, but Andrew does have 2 points up now for the hold over at Vilemaw's lair. He's got a decent setup in his hand there from what I can see. I believe he has another Sprite Mother in his hand as well as an On Guard and I believe a Retreat. But he has a lot of counterplay, but also a lot of moves he could make in this turn to be able to fill his base, potentially put more defenders over at Vilemaw's. He's going to play the Sprite Mother, and he's going to use that active sprite to start a combat at the Dreaming Tree against my recruit tokens. We are tapped out, so it's going to come down to if we want to use that hidden or not here. And we are. We're going to cast the Hidden Blade, and we're going to attempt to take out the Sprite token there to stop that combat from happening, but I will give Andrew the 2 cards, one being the Tasty Faithfolk, and I believe the other was a Daring Poro. Again, I do dislike giving my opponent more resources, but in order to give myself opportunity to hold and retain more points, it's a sacrifice that I must make in some instances. He does have 2 up still, so he could either hold them for counterplay or tap them for a play. He is going to tap them to throw a Stalwart over at the Vile Maw's lair, and that'll be the end of his turn there. So now being tapped out does give me opportunities to play a bit more freely this coming turn. We do get the hold, so we're up to 4 to Andrew's 5. Again, playing on a 1 to 2 point back foot is a little detrimental unless we can draw into some pretty handy dandy stuff. I'm going to pay the 1 for a Stupefy. I'm going to Stupefy one of my own units of the Dreaming Tree to draw 1, and the Dreaming Tree, when I target a unit, will let me draw again. Really solid play. Since we're already holding, it's not too much of a negligent combo. However, I could have definitely started a combat first and then used it to target one of Andrew's defending units to reduce the power, but I don't think it would have mattered too much. We're going to throw down a Daring Poro for 2, recycle the 1, throw down a Seal of Unity. And this, from my conversations, is a 50-50 even split on yay, nay, good card, bad card. Being able to tap that as opposed to paying the recycle cost for some units is pretty helpful, but in some instances also kind of a dead draw. So I'm 50-50 on playing them. We did see the Houston Regional, the Annie list wasn't playing any of the seals between purple and red in that list, and some Jinx lists do play the seals. They're a bit expensive for what I think they do, but in my initial build of this list I was going off of some of the Chinese lists and they were mostly playing the seals, so that might be a bit different to the English meta as we get more into set 2 in the coming meta, or they might go up depending on how much deck interactivity we see going forward. Again, that's my one, I guess, initial gripe with the game, is that there's no real deck interaction. And I think that seems to be the standard going forward for a lot of games. There's not too much deck interaction. If you look at newer games like Union Arena or even the Gundam card game, there's not a whole lot of deck interaction. It's a lot of soft deck searching, like top checking, not real hard deck searching, like searching for specific cards or specific attributes, and then shuffling and then reorienting the state of your deck in between searches. We're getting back into the turn. Andrew's turn. He's going to start with a combat over at the Dreaming Tree. He's going to, with priority, play the Discipline. Sorry, not Disciple. The Discipline's going to pump the Sprite Mother by 2, making it a 5, and we are going to counter with a Siphon Power. Yep, so he goes from 3 to 5 with the Discipline to 4 with the Siphon Power, and then all of my units will get +1. So we're at 9 to his current 4. So in this instance there, now I'm pretty sure we missed up the chain timing resolution in this instance. So it would have been, if he wanted to draw, he would have only drawn for the Dreaming Tree, but not the Discipline spell, unless we were resolving the chain. So I don't believe he would have had access to the Defy. I think he actually already had the Defy in hand, but in either instance, I believe he would have had the 1 draw from the battlefield, but he wouldn't have had the 2nd draw until the chain fully resolved. So he's going to defy the Siphon Power. Oh, and he's going to follow up that with an On Guard. And that's going to be the end of that combat there, so...
No, actually, 5 versus 5. And then 7. That gives you 7. Okay, yeah, that puts me up.
So that'd be the end of that combat there. Just to round off the not even trade, he's going to throw down the extra On Guard there to be able to save the Sprite Mother in that instance there. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that was the correct way to play that out, was the battlefield resolves first for the target, and then once the chain resolves backwards, then he would get the 2nd draw for the Discipline.
Can't go home. It's illegal. It is.
I'm going to throw down another Ravenbloom student here. And that'll be the end of Andrew's turn there. With the 1-up, a little scary. He did draw a lot of cards that last turn. We have some decent options in hand, though. I think we just drew our own Ravenbloom student in deck there. We are sitting pretty comfy with a couple cards. I think we have the Thousand-Tailed Watcher in hand still. Yeah, so we're going to pay the 8. Recycled the 2. And that's going to give us the Thousand-Tailed Watcher accelerated. We're going to minus power across the battlefield. Or both battlefields, I should say. So we're going to start a combat over at the Dreaming Tree. So it's going to be a 3-1, or 2-1. That's 3 to his 1 currently. So he's going to pay the 1 remaining for another on guard. He's only seen 2 of those so far. Definitely had a lot of opportunities for increasing his unit's power. So it's tied there. We do eliminate that, but that does free up the battlefield, so we can move up the second. We're going to move up the second recruit token there. He is fully tapped up, so we'll gain the point there. So it'll be 5 to his current 7, and then we're going to start that combat over at the other battlefield. So he was going to lose anyway, so he flips over the Foxfire. It does nothing in this instance because we don't have anything totaling might 4 or less. So we'll gain the point there. So it's now 6 to 7, and we're holding both battlefields right now. If we hold both going into the next turn, then that will give us the game, but he does have opportunities for counterplay here a little bit. He has plenty of card draw this game, and I believe he has a Thousand-Tailed Watcher of his own, unless I'm misreading his hand. I believe, yeah, like you said, he only needs to conquer 1 to save it from being game, unless I have another Thousand-Tailed Watcher in my hand going into next turn. See that tasty Faithfolk in his hand there. He's looking to pay 3. He's gonna pay 3 for a Lecturing Yordle. That's gonna give him the draw. And he's going to start a combat over at the Dreaming Tree with the Ravenbloom. And he's already up, and I have the 1 up. I could counterplay here. I am not. He will get the Conquer for that. But he will draw. Remember that he mentioned the Stupefy later. He has a lot of cards in hand, but between the Time Warp and then I think everything else is just followers. He's going to pay 3 once again for another Lecturing Yordle. He's going to tank up the Dreaming Tree battlefield there, and then throw down 2 more for a Stalwart Yoroporo. He's going to really push on holding that battlefield. So we will go to 7 ourselves. Unfortunately, I don't think... And as we mentioned before, if he had a Stupefy, that would have helped. But unfortunately, we just draw it for turn. Had we been 1 card closer, we would have had some counterplay opportunity there. So we're going to pay 5 with the 1 recycle for the Machine Evangelist, and then 2 for the Ravenbloom Student, and he holds for game 2. And there's the draw for turn. 1 turn away, 1 card draw away from being able to counterplay that 1 turn a little bit. So now getting into game 3, we're both down to our last battlefield, and both of us for our last battlefield have Treferian War Camp, which is insanely good for me. Especially when holding and defending. Unfortunately, not so much for attacking. The Ahri does negate it, essentially. But negating it's better than losing it on attack anyway, so... So we're going to start off right away with first turn for us. We're going to pay 1 for a token, and then that'll be the end of our turn 1. Unfortunately, everything we have is a little too beefy for turn 1, sadly. So Andrew's going to pay 3 for a Lecturing Yordle once again to draw 1. And it's going to give him tank. So then we're going to go up to 4 runes, draw for turn. And we're going to start a combat or a showdown over at one of the battlefields there. We're going to gain a point. Now, contemplating here a little bit, we did just draw Shen. We're going to pay 1 for another token. And that'll be the end of our turn 2. A little bit of bait, But the Shen is a really cool tech choice in my sideboard. I do like it, and if I remember right, the ruling on reaction units is they're played immediately to the battlefield as opposed to going into the chain stack. So he's going to start a combat with the Electring Yordle. He's going to pass priority, and then we are going to react with, or play, I suppose, with our priority, or with our now past priority, the Shen. It's going to start that, or pump that combat up differently, so because he has tank, he is going to live. The shield +2 is awesome in that instance as well, so he becomes a 5 power defender for 3. He's going to play a Sprite Mother to round off his turn there. Start a combat or a showdown over at the other battlefield, gain a point, and that'll be the end of Andrew's turn at 2. Passing it back to us. We'll get the point for holding. And I think in this matchup, the Shen just is a really solid, or in this game, I should say, with the Trifarian War Camp, the Shen's just really solid in this as a tech choice. Being able to defend with the +2 from shield plus the +1 from the battlefield, making it a bit easier to hold as opposed to the next normal wanting to push and conquer battlefields instead with tokens. So in this instance, because Andrew is tapped out, we could definitely just spend the turn setting up or trying to go for that other battlefield. We can avoid that same mistake from that previous game though, where we try and start a combat over at the battlefield with the Sprite there, because he won't get the point for holding because it's going to leave at the beginning step there. So we can avoid doing anything too risky with that whole battlefield there. We're going to play our champion Viktor, and hopefully this time it doesn't die right away like last two games. Andrew had the Singularity and got rid of it immediately, so I never got to benefit from the on destruction skill. We're going to recycle 1. We're going to cast another hidden at our battlefield there, and that will be, I believe, the end of our turn. I don't think we have anything else we could play here. Well, I suppose we could still do our leader skill. But a lot of later turn plays. I see the 2 Machine Evangelists, the 1 Stupefy. We're going to throw our residual recruit over to our occupied battlefield, pay the 1, play a new recruit token. That'll be the end of our turn there. Passing it back to Andrew. He loses the Sprite, so he does not get the hold. But I suppose that's the interesting play of it is, even though he's not holding with the Sprite, because that battlefield's unoccupied now, you can just move and go for the conquer point. Which in some instances, not matchups, I should say, in some instances with the right battlefields, when you conquer, do stuff, might proc there a bit more favorably. So it doesn't really matter if you hold so much as you conquer and then gain the effect of the battlefield when you conquer. Pretty solid stuff. Interesting tech choices here. He does have some counterplay in hand as well as some units. He's going to pay 2. He's going to throw the Stalwart Portal over at the newly conquered battlefield there. And I see the Wind Wall in his hand as well as... actually, I can't tell what that one is there. Another Ravenbloom student. Okay. So he's really going to beef up that 1 battlefield there. And then that'll be the end of Andrew's turn, passing it back to me. Really setting up to make that battlefield a hard-to-conquer showdown.
I'm going to
I'm going to cast a Hidden Blade, and I'm going to sack one of my recruit tokens there to draw 2. And at this point, I'm not too worried about that battlefield. With the Shin there, I'm going to be able to hold pretty easily. And then with the draw, I'll give myself more options for counterplay as well. Now again, we're still sitting on those 2 Machine Evangels, as well as, I believe we have a Thousand-Tailed Watcher in hand. Can't tell anymore. We do. It's over there. On top of, we have a Seal, and then our own Sprite Mother. We're going to play the Daring Poro. We're going to bottom deck 1 to play our Seal. And it leaves us with 4 up. We're going to pay 3 here for a Noxian Drummer. And we'll pass with the 1 up rune there. And that puts us slightly ahead. We're only ahead by 1 to even with him holding. It puts him up to 3 now on his turn, but because we're a turn ahead, we're in that point just a bit before him, so we're still up, I guess technically 1 in terms of turn order, even though we're at a current tie. He'll need to conquer the other battlefield there in order to put himself ahead a smidge. He is in Tasty Faithful range, I believe. He has the 1, 2, 3, 4. No, he only has 7. I believe he needs 1 more for the Tasty Faithful if he wants to play it. So, definitely needs to pace out how he wants to play. Right now, he's a bit on the back foot, just holding the other battlefield, but... Oh, he does have 8. Sorry, I didn't see the 3rd in the middle there. So he does have the 8 for the Tasty Faithful with Accelerate. And it's going to come in as a 6. Because with the Trefarian War Camp, I'm currently 1 point ahead. So he is going to start a combat over there. And as a precautionary measure, we are going to stupefy the Tasty Faithful to draw. And then -1 over there. So we lose the Shin. We keep the recruit token. He is going to channel 2. Eyewitness News. The runes there. So he is now in Time Warp range. Oh, and I believe we forget to do the recruit with the Champion Viktor effect. Once we lose the Shin there. I believe we remember to do that later on, but definitely something to remember in the instance there with the effect of the Viktor leader. It's a bit hard when the first 2 games you play, you lose him right away without ever getting to use his effect, unfortunately. But really helpful in just replenishing the battlefield slightly and kind of weaning onto specific plays. So we're going to conquer the other battlefield there with the token. We're going to play the Machine Evangel over to that battlefield that we just conquered. And here's where we remember to do the effect of the Champion Viktor effect. So we're going to get that recruit token. And it would be active in this instance because it was in the previous turn that it died, so... We're going to move the Noxian Drummer over to the other battlefield, making a recruit token there. So that's going to make that currently a 1, 2, 6, 7, 8 power battlefield. And the Machine Evangel is currently, or the other battlefield with the Machine Evangel is currently a 5, 6, 7 power battlefield. So we could move the recruit there to tie it up a little bit and then force him into a position where he has to go for one or the other. So we're going to move that recruit token over there. It's going to make that a 9 power battlefield. And that'll be the end of our turn. Sitting pretty comfortably right now. We are up 1 to 2 points now with now having conquered the other battlefield. I'm not entirely sure why he moved the 3 back. I think he potentially wanted to save them from all being dead, especially with his hand. But I now see that he has the Thousand-Tailed Watcher, so he is going to play that. That is going to neg all of my power, unfortunately. So all of my units are now 1 power, essentially. With the exception of the Machine of Angel. The Machine of Angel is at 2 power.
That will go down to 2, but everything else is 1.
So now, both battlefields are, I believe, the Noxian Drummer battlefield's at 3 total power, and then the other one's at 4 total power. So I'm not sure if he had that in his hand from the previous turn, but if he did, that's a pretty insane play, a risky play, if he didn't, to move all of his units out of a battlefield and allow it to be conquered. We are going to pay 2 for Hidden Blade to attempt to kill the Thousand-Tailed Watcher to prevent him from conquering here. And he is going to cast Wind Wall, hard counter against the Hidden Blade there. So unfortunately, we don't have the ability to hold there. So he is going to conquer there. He's going to gain the point, going to 4. And with the death of the Noxian Drummer, we get a recruit token for the Viktor champion effect. Now, the math has got to math a little bit here for the other battlefield. He has the potential to conquer both this turn if he decides to swing. Again, the other battlefield's only sitting at 4 power, and I am fully tapped out. So he is going to... It looks like he's going to try. He's going to move the... Ooh, he's going to leave the Stalwart Poro back. He's going to start the combat with the Ravenbloom student and the Sprite Mother for a total of 6. Or a total of 8 because of the Trifarian War Camp. So we do lose that combat as well. And that will give us another recruit token with the champion Viktor. Unfortunately, we do need to see something big. But he is tapped out here. So even if we do conquer both this coming turn, it won't matter too much. So he's going to move the Stalwart Poro over to the battlefield with the Thousand-Tailed Watcher to make that a bit more difficult to conquer. And he will gain the extra point for the conquer at the end there. So is currently tied up 5-5. And we're going to mimic his play there by casting for 8 our own Thousand-Tailed Watcher from hand there as soon as we can get those runes recycled. And it comes in accelerated for the extra 1 with the recycle cost. So now that Sprite Mother is going to be solo by itself, but it will be a 2 power still regardless. And then the other battlefield is going to be, let's see, it's 8, 3, 4, or 8, 3, so that goes down to 1, that goes down to 5, so that's currently a 6 power battlefield to be 7 with the Stalwart Poro's effect. But this current battlefield with the Sprite Mother is currently at 2, so I'm... And this should be more than 3, because it would gain the 1, and then with the assault it would gain a second 1 there, so... In either event, we still win, but in any event, we lose the... Actually, in that instance, the Daring Poro should have survived, I think, because it would have moved to the battlefield. It would have lost 1, gained 1, and then gained 1 from assault. So I think that was a misplay right there. The Daring Poro should have survived in that instance because it would have still had 1 more power over the Sprite Mother, with the +1 from the battlefield and the +1 from his assault skill. But misplays are made in some instances. We get a recruit token for that. And we still get the conquer at that battlefield there. So that puts us up to 6. Yeah, so we're going to start up over there. We're going to come in swinging for 8 to his 7. +1 coming from the Daring Poro there, so, or the Stalwart Poro. So that's going to put us to 7 points. And now we just need to hold 1. in the coming turn here. So we're tapped out. So the Daring Poro will give us a token, plus the Thousand Tail Watcher on death will give us a token as well. We're going to move our standing token as well as the Viktor champion over to one of the battlefields, and that'll be the end of our turn there. So again, if we hold, that's pretty much it. So it's going to come down to if he can get around what we have currently. I see the Sprite Mother, and I don't think he has enough, unfortunately. He's going to pay the 4 with the 1 recycle for the Sprite Mother. That's going to make his Sprite token there. I believe, unfortunately, he won't have a way to conquer both to prevent me from holding into the next turn. So he's going to start a combat with the Sprite over at the solo battlefield. It's going to get rid of my recruit there. He has the point for conquering. He's going to play retreat, bounce the Sprite Mother.
And then do it again.
And then do it again. Unfortunately, it's not enough to conquer the other battlefield there. So that will be the end of his turn. He passes. And we gain a point for holding for game. Thanks again for watching, guys. Again, if you stuck it out for the whole match there and enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.